Right, well it looks like we've got everything set up and got the green light in OBS saying it actually seems to be working okay, so let's just jump into the normal screen. Find my chat window. Have a quick drink before we start. Right, well, hello if anyone is there. I'm just running some tests with the OBS software, trying to get a better, I think they call it bitrate on the OBS system. Because when I watched back on the last replays of the live broadcast, it did get a bit mushy, the graphics in the distance. So either it wasn't quite keeping up with the broadband or something was amiss. So I've made some changes and whatever, and we'll try that out. Get everything locked up. Got my armrest in place because I have to use an armrest because the other shakes and whatever when I'm flying. So if anyone is out there at some point, just say hi. It'd be nice just to get an acknowledgement that it is actually broadcasting okay. I will jump back in OBS and have a look in a minute. It looks like it's okay here. Got the green light in Windows in YouTube, so that looks right. So here we go. So anyway, that's what we're here for, is to fly around and have a go. Whether anyone's there or not, I'll just talk to myself as I usually do. We're in the Capri today, down at Barton Airfield, Manchester way. And I did get this when it first came out, but I haven't actually flown here for, well, must be months. Well, at least a month or more, and I never really did give it a good look round, so I thought I'd come here today, have a look round, see what it's got. Looks like it's got some nice low trees for doing hovering practice around, which is always nice. Going on to the main airfield. And one of the things I did notice was that when Orbix updated their libraries, a few things changed here last time I came over. Some of the car parks over by the, I think the football stadium changed. They actually looked like they had Astros turf. I think some of the buildings here changed, where the cafe is. And that, so one of the things always remember to do, if Orbix bringing something out and they're doing a new library, you do tend to notice they have lots of new cars. Where I normally fly at Shoreham, suddenly different styles of bridges appeared and stuff like that. So they're gradually adding more and more detail into the libraries as they go along. So here they come up by the tower. There's probably no one in. For some reason they always put towers in and put computers in there and that, but don't normally put people in. Look around there. And I'm sure that's a different shaped building than the last time I was here. I don't remember it being a modern looking building. I remember a wooden bit on the centre, but not the outside part. So that is definitely changed. Great detail there, yeah, good. And blowing flags. Can't remember if they were there before either. So yeah, always remember, go back to your Orbix main site, the gateway, and always remember to download the libraries if there's an upload or an upgrade. And it won't just update the latest scenery they've done, it seems to update all the work they've been doing on all the other scenery and that as well. I know if we head off over this way, it's this very strange looking building. We pass a football club, which... Hi there. Oh, so somebody is online. Thank you for saying hello. Oh, good. Oh, that's good to hear, because I was playing around in OBS with what they call the bit rate, which, if I remember rightly, was like the bits per second that it puts out. And I upped it to the maximum on my broadband, and it did seem to improve it. I looked privately earlier, but it did seem a little bit better in the textures in the background when you're flying a bit faster. I was just commenting here, you might have heard me say the same. Orbix, when they upgraded their libraries, they put in this AstroTurf. This wasn't there last time I flew here, or they did have some grass, and the football stadium looks different as well. So, but I'm glad to hear it looks alright. Today it caught me a bit unawares. I was about to go live like I did the other day, and then all of a sudden when I went into YouTube, there were all just a load more settings that I'd never seen before. Be a bit quieter for a moment, because obviously if there's a bridge you never fly over it, not if you can help it. Because what else do they put there for? But yeah, like I was just saying, I lost my train of thought there. Suddenly went into YouTube, and there was all these new settings about where you could pre-set up like premieres, you know, an event in the future and all that sort of thing. And when I looked in my software, the OBS software, couldn't find any of the settings, so I left it as it was, and I just hope that people will find it if where we are or where we're going. As I say, I've not actually flown around this area. When this first came out, I grabbed it because being Orbix and fairly new to it at that time, they were doing the best stuff. And I know this big blue building is the ski centre or something, where it's an indoor ski centre. And they've made a lot of changes since the last time I was here. So we all moan about Orbix doing buildings that don't normally touch the ground, where most of these ones seem to be. Yeah. About that detail. We've got snow activity shop and dine. Not dining. Dine. Nice golf club there. And then now and again get some strange looking buildings like this one here. It looks like it should be in Moscow rather than anywhere else. Obviously a very large shopping centre. When you're flying in these places and other people know them, of course you always, well, end up maybe their favourite football club or something, calling it the wrong name or something like that. And there's a prime example of what Orbix don't get correct, which is if we drop down here, buildings that don't touch the ground really annoys me. They've got the terrain maps they've managed to get that one on the floor, and yet that one we could fly underneath. And I just don't understand how they're not getting placed low down. They must look at them in 3D or fly around, or so you would think anyway, on that, but who knows, who knows. On our way and have a look. If you're still there and haven't just dozed off or anything, do I take it that you fly or you use X-Plane or DCS? Any preference between the two? And of course the lag that we get as well is quite bad, so you're never sure if somebody's actually disappeared or they've dozed off. There's certain parts there that look really good. You've got a bump in the traffic occasionally, graphics just not quite all blended in yet, but it's getting there. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I had to go in a Cessna. I was doing a scenery thing, and it was taking so long to get there in the helicopter. I jumped in a Cessna for the first time, and pretty much knew where the brakes were, so I took them off and set the throttle, and off we went, and managed to fly it round for a bit. Then headed into a canyon that there was no way out of and ended up crashing. So strangely enough, planes have never really been my thing. Ever since I was a kid, it was always helicopters. Did a lot of radio control plane flying, because although I used to run a helicopter club. Most people know that anyway by now. But we always used to go off and fly radio control planes and slope soarers and things like that. So you, what one was it you bought? Was it you that mentioned it was you'd got the Mini 500 from the last time? Oh, you put your first video up. I do apologise, trying to fly and read the screen at the same time is amazingly difficult. Right, I'll definitely give it a look up and see. And what helicopter was it you were running or using? I think it was the other. It's Sunday, Friday night when we did the other live little video. I couldn't believe the delay on the text. You know, it was like 30 seconds, 45 seconds from answering, especially with typing time and all that. It's not easy. Much better if you could voice chat. Oh, so it's the same one. So it's a great little helicopter. I have to say I absolutely love this. I got that Mini 500 rocket thing, as I call it, which is a real handful and a great deal of fun. I've got this. I've got the 429 that Tom was speaking about the other night, which flies brilliantly. I have to say I love that as well. And then the AB4 ones, who are my favourite. I've been getting the grips with this one let's give it a go, give it on autos, because I always tend to go on sound. I'm not always very good at looking at instruments, so let's see if we can get somewhere near the tower, cut the engine, and I've got it set so that the fuel gets cut off when, like now. So into an auto, pretty much the compass aiming where you want to end up, get it nice and level. Or a bit slow, but it's going to be a running on one. Yeah, used it all up there, got away with it, but what you should obviously do is get the helicopter into a nice stable 3-foot hover before it lands on the ground. But with me, I'm afraid I generally end up having to do run on autos. I tend to use up all the collective on the way in. Now, you might have seen the field of view change just then, and I can change it back so you see more, I think. Do that. And then open the window again. They never make anything that simple. So every time you restart the helicopter, it gives you a different field of view, and the chat window disappears. Right, yeah, so you struggle to land. Well, I'm not much better, I'm sure. I think you watched or were talking to us in the last one. You know, for me, I mean, one of the things with this is that I have it set up two ways. Like at the moment, I've probably got it set up for hovering. Yeah, so I've got all the trims set there, but I've got a collective stick. I had a bit right pedal on there. That's hands off completely, so it's just floating, nothing going on it at all. And in fact, well, I'm not touching any controls at all. I can jump to the outside view if I cut the chat window off a moment and zoom in. Yeah, there's all my logos and everything. But that is just sitting there with no input from now. I'm turning the foot pedals there, and it will come round. It's only got one person in it. I don't know if you know, you only get the second person when you put the payload weight up, and then the second person appears. So that is just sitting there on a cushion of air, and I haven't touched the control apart from my feet, just to keep the nose towards us. And one of the signs of if a guy's done a helicopter model really well is that if you spin the helicopter around in one direction, it will take off. There was a famous book called Chicken Hawk about Huey pilots, where they got caught in an area where they couldn't get enough speed to get out the trees, and the guy took off. And you see, if I go that way, the helicopter will actually start to go down. It's taking power away, and it's that way. So if I spin it, it will go down. Where that proves that the physics of the model are actually very good. But if I slow it down now, and I still haven't touched the collective at all, go the other way, the helicopter will rise because it's giving more power to the blades. And there was a famous thing in this book called Chicken Hawk. I jump into the helicopter now before I crash. Where in Vietnam they'd got stuck in a certain area where there were dense trees, and they couldn't get enough forward speed to get them out. And the guy sat there and spanned the helicopter round, and that gave them lift, and then that managed to get them out of the situation they were in. It was one of the best books to read about helicopters and whatever. I read it years ago, but it's still available on Amazon, well worth the read. But like most things, if you're struggling to land and, you know, hover and do all those things, just the trims are always different. you know, like if I bring it round again, there, I've got this set up so at the moment, even if we just let it roll on, let it touch down gently, when it takes off, I will have to apply a bit of right foot, but I haven't touched the collective at all, and it will just stay there. And then all you do is you sit there and practice going forward a bit, let go of the stick, practice, let it roll. Don't worry about trying to get into the hover all the time. Sometimes just even if you build up a fair bit of speed, a bit like an aeroplane with wheels, just get the gentleness of trying to get it to get the skids down, and then next time you do it, you come along and then you would pick the nose up a little bit, but you've got to remember to take the collective off at the same time, so you can then get into, or you would hope, a stable hover, be able to move it around. So two different things. And the other thing as well with the helicopter, which I don't think I know you've got the trims on the aircraft for at certain throttles you can set the flaps and things on that, but it's the same in the helicopter. This is beautifully set up at the moment for me to be able to hover around. I can spin it, I can fly backwards, and it's not going to bother me. It's you know, it's well set up for hovering around and messing around. As soon as you take it off the collective and get it somewhere around the hover point, it just set itself out nicely, and there it's like that. But then when you go into forward flight, because of the rotor disc, I think for the cab rig I have to apply, I'm going to have to do it now. So if I go into fast forward flight, you have to apply something like 5 clicks of trim. I can't remember if it's left or right at the moment. So to make it fly fast and low, which is obviously a lot of the stuff I like doing, it's a different trim setup compared to what you are when you're hovering. So pick some speed up. So yeah, so I'm having to do 6 clicks of trim left for fast forward flight, so I don't hold. Obviously, if you don't have the shakes like me and you can hold your hands in a particular position, you can do all that, and you can hold that on yourself. But what I will do is, if I go into fast forward flight on this particular model, I'll be adding 5 or 6 clicks of left trim, because the helicopter rolls, and then when I come back to the hover, like 3, 4, 5, 6, I'll put the right trim on, and then I can drop down. Now obviously, as I say, if you could actually, like in a real helicopter, you actually hold it in the position that you want the trim to be, but of course I'm using a very old potash system, it's sprung loaded. It is hard for me to hold that trim in that position, so I do use the trims a lot. It'd be lovely if you could preset them up so that you know, you didn't have the same problems each time. But so again, there we're in hover position, roughly. You do, right. I did wonder if that's the case, because I would have assumed the faster it goes, either the way the props or the wings work, you're going to have to either retrim for up, nose down, or depending how much throttle you're using. But a lot of people don't realise that when helicopters fly fast forward, they tend to roll in one direction. It's not just the tail you have to worry about, it's that you have to, you know, push it over. And the same, like when you go into the autos, one of the problems you might have seen when I did that auto was that when you're up high and you suddenly drop the collective down, the trim position is, well, you don't have time to do it, you've got to do it by pushing the stick, but you've got to put your pedal on and everything to counteract the fact that the engine's not powering it anymore or doing any of that side stuff. But I'm glad to hear. Did you watch? I should ask. Did you watch, or were you watching the last live broadcast that I did? And from memory, would you think that? And it's the question, because I come from a, graphics. I've always been interested. Would you say that it's all quite smooth? It's not blurring, like the trees aren't round where the piece of string is. They're not blurring too much or meshing or mushing up into each other. My 5 trims of forward speed, and we fly down the canal. Oh, that's right. No, it doesn't make any odds. It's the sort of thing I look for is a bit like where we're flying down this canal, is that, and it depends on the graphics card and everything else, that the stuff directly in front of you, let's say by 50 foot, will always look sharp, and then something that's 100 foot away starts to look mushy, and something that's 200 foot away looks very mushy if you've not got the broadcasting software set correctly. And one of the problems is that when you increase the bit rate, which is what I've done, it can actually make it look worse for things in the distance. So that's why I was just wondering, as we're approaching things, does it look sharp? Oh, right. So, well, that's something else I'd never thought of. On some of my other videos since I've been doing them, I've been amazed. We get all the data back, or I get all the data back as to what people watch things on, and it does amaze me the amount of people that are watching them on their phone and on tablets and things like that rather than desktops. I suppose it's easier to just log in sometimes, while you're in the front room, or maybe sometimes that's all you've got while you're on the train or something like that. So we all said, let's head back over towards the airport. I won't drag this out much longer. It's good to hear that at least it was it's running sharp. It certainly has been performing pretty well from this side. Now in the Cabri, if you hear that sort of choppy noise like that, really you're overdoing it a little bit too much. So on the Collective, it's not like the Huey where the thump of the blades is that's a lovely noise to hear. You want to, as soon as you hear that sort of choppy noise, you just want to go down on the Collective just a little bit, and then that keeps the engine power just about right. Let's try and get some speed on. We'll try a nice roll auto onto the runway. As I said, what I've got is a switch that's set up that will just cut the fuel supply off, then cuts the engine. Do that. There it goes. Drop the Collective, so it's now down at the bottom. Level it out. Joking. Okay. Might even be able to get a turn in. Ooh, bit running on. Might just get it. Whoa. Oh, that was close. That was good. Right, that's brilliant. Well, thank you for at least jumping in on that. It was only a short one because I just wanted to try the new settings and everything. I do appreciate it. And perhaps you'll join in. Give the helicopter practice a good go. I've always found it much more rewarding. It's the old saying is, if you can fly a helicopter, you can fly anything. And you know, certainly planes wouldn't be any different. And I think for me, flying high up, you know, if you like navigation, wonderful. But I sort of not really into the navigation side or anything like that. I just like to see where I'm going and fly between the trees and that sort of thing. So really good of you to just join in there. Sorry you were on your own, but I do appreciate it, and keep an eye out for the next one. It'll probably be next week sometime. So talk to you then.